Hi, Rebecca Zung here, top 1% divorce attorney and the best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide. And I share all my tips and tricks right here with you on this channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, boom, and you will be updated every time I upload a new video. This is part one of an incredible conversation that I had with Saeed, who is a narcissism expert and also has her own fantastic YouTube channel. And we are talking about the sneaky things that narcissists do in divorce. So you'll want to make sure that you watch all the way till the end so that when I upload part two, you will be all caught up. So without further ado, let's dive into part one. So Kim, you and I talked about all of this beforehand, and one of the things that we agreed would be a really fantastic topic is to talk about the sneaky things that narcissists do in divorce. And
yes.
Before we even got on camera here, we were like, and they do this, and oh, also, and they do that. And it's like, oh, we'll have no problem filling an entire episode talking about the sneaky things that they do in divorce.
Right.
So, some of the things are the things that you would expect, like lying and manipulating and scheming, things like that. I mean, the thing is that they're the same people in divorce. They're just like on steroids because they go into full-on attack mode.
They do.
They're always in sort of survival mode. But during divorce, it's full-on attack mode. Even if the words coming out of their mouth are, let's settle this amicably, we don't need lawyers, there's no need to fight, they'll say that stuff as they're behind your back, lining up their flying monkeys and hiding
Yes.
money.
Yes. And I have personal experience with all of that, as well as, all the different coaching clients I've worked with over the years. And I'm so glad you're bringing that up because you should never trust them when the two of you are alone and they're telling you, as you said, we don't need attorneys. Let's just do this pro se. We'll come up with our own agreement. I've seen too many people being destroyed and devastated by doing those things.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because when I had a conversation with Dr. Ramani about, who says they want to fight or don't want to fight, when the divorce starts. And I told her that every single person who comes through the doors of my office, almost 100%, I haven't actually polled it, but I could tell you it's pretty close to 100%, says, I don't want to fight. I just want this to be amicable. I don't want to spend a lot of money on attorney's fees. Nobody wants to spend lots of money on attorney's fees. And what surprised her was that even the narcissist says that. And I said, of course they do, because first of all, they think that they still have full control over their target and they're going to be able to just jam whatever agreement down their throat that they think that they're going to. Or they're just trying to paint a picture, that they're the good person, they're the kind person, they're the one that wears the white hat. The other person is crazy. The other person, maybe even will say the other person's a narcissist, or they might say the other person's an alcoholic, or whatever it is that they want to say about them. And so while they're behind even their own attorney's back doing sneaky things, lining up their flying monkeys, manipulating emails, I mean, I've had really bad narcissists, malignant ones, who will actually break into people's emails. Like they figure out how to break into their computer through their server somehow. Like, I don't even know. This is way beyond my technology knowledge, but like they'll actually, I've had clients say that emails that were in their inbox somehow got erased.
That does happen. And actually, that happened to me when I was going through my divorce because my ex and his sister at the time were really good friends with a private investigator, and that PI did not mind doing illegal things. So they planted spyware remotely on my devices and were able to get into my emails and would even use my phone as a microphone and listen in on my private conversations. I don't think that's as easy as it used to be. And I used to have an Android. I don't think it's as easy with iPhone. But yes, all of that happened to me. So I'm very familiar with that.
That's interesting. I never heard anyone say it's easier to break into phone conversations with an Android than an iPhone.
Well, this has been 10 years ago, so a lot's changed since then.
Oh, isn't that interesting though? Um, so, you know, they will lie, they will manipulate. Everything you say or do, you can just expect will be used against you. Even if it's something mild. But they'll also take pieces of text messages and manipulate them so that it looks like you said something that you didn't, or didn't respond to something. I mean, they're not above, manipulating the evidence.
Right. And I think it's important for people to accept and understand that if the narcissist sends you an email and you don't respond, a lot of times that can be interpreted as agreement.
Yeah, I mean, the way I suggest people handle that is, if they send an email, and a lot of times they're emails because as you're pulling away, they're going to get more and more out of control. So they'll send long diatribes of emails or texts that are perfectly curated and carefully designed to inflame you, to upset you, to trigger you. They'll say things like, "You're a horrible mother, you ignore our children." Meanwhile, the kids are sitting right in front of your face and you just took them to the dentist and you were just helping them with homework. And you're thinking, how can you say that? I'm like with them all the time. I help out at the school. I'm always with them. How can you say that I'm a terrible mother and I ignore them? And so that's the exact kind of thing that like will inflame you and make you want to defend yourself because it's just such a patent lie. And so they say things like that to get you to respond. But somewhere in that diatribe of total BS might be one line of something that you definitely need to respond to, like, uh, and what time do you want to pick up the kids on Wednesday or something? And, or what time should I pick up Johnny on Wednesday? And so what I suggest people do is they respond by saying something like, "Thank you for your email. I deny all of your allegations, and you can pick up Johnny at 3 o'clock on Wednesday."
Right. And that's so important that you brought that up. You don't want to get emotional when you are communicating by email because attorneys and judges do look at what you're saying. So you want to avoid curse words and anything that can be misinterpreted as you being crazy. So you want to be as professional as you possibly can. If there are children involved, I would recommend using a parenting software like Our Family Wizard or something along those lines. I think Parent Talk or something is another one. Or
Talking parents is
Yeah.
another one. Fair is another one. But and that's perfect, exact advice, perfect advice. What I tell people normally, so when you're responding to an email like that that's designed to manipulate you into responding in a certain way, and you respond back, you know, without adding anything, don't overshare, don't respond, don't defend yourself, all of that. Um, it helps in a couple of ways. One is with your own toxicity and dealing with them and keeping them, their boundaries in place, and brief conversation with them. But also, as you said, and this is something that um, the people who follow me regularly know that I say all the time, which is every text, every email, anything you put your hand to in writing is a potential trial exhibit. And just think about it as a potential trial exhibit before you hit send. Just
Right.
imagine, just imagine the judge looking over your shoulder before you hit send and think, would I want this judge to be reading this? And because they probably will be. Unless it's so benign that it doesn't merit, have being seen again. I had a case one time where my client, I mean, both of them were kind of crazy, and they may have both been narcissists, who knows? But my client was the husband. He was just so sick of sending temporary support payments to the wife that he sent one over and signed it with his left hand. He was right-handed. Signed it with his left hand in crayon, so that it
Oh,
looked like a 5-year-old had signed the check, just to be a jackass. This is my own client, of course. Of course, he didn't ask me if he should do that before he did it, but of course he did it. And of course, it was like one of the centerpieces of the trial exhibits for the wife's lawyer. I mean, absolutely. I would have done the same thing. Look what a jerk he is. Look how he manipulates her. It was a wonderful trial exhibit against my client.
oh gosh, right. Yes. Well, now that we're talking about things that we can use for documentation, Rebecca, let's ask, or I'd like to ask, what should we be focusing on? And also, why we should not be trying to prove that we're dealing with a narcissist? Because let's be honest here, being a narcissist isn't against the law. So that's why we have to prove they're doing things that break the law or are looking kind of shady and sketchy. So what should we be focusing on?
So I'm going to tell you something that the very first lawyer that I clerked for in law school told me, and it was really good advice. And what she told me was, Rebecca, always start with the statute. So, the statute is the law. So if you're looking at, just go focus back on what it is that you want to get. Is it child support? Is it parenting plan? Is it alimony? Is it equitable distribution or a division of community property, depending on what state you're in? Every single one of those areas of the law, so it's the four main areas. It's going to be a property division, some kind of alimony or support if there's a claim for that, um, parenting plan, and child support. Those are the four main areas of every single case. And attorney's fees is sort of what I call an additional kind of area. But the four core areas in family law are those four areas. Every single one of those areas has a statute. So what you want to do is take a look at the statute for your state, for that area. And that's where you want to prove. That's what you want to show. And there's always also an overlay of credibility, bias, things like that, so that you can take away from the person's credibility, because you can show that they're a liar. So that if they're testifying to something, that the judge might go, I tend less to believe that person. I'm going to tend to believe you more because you've just proved that this person is a liar. So, but, being a narcissist, as you said, is not against the law. But when you look at best interests of the child, for example, every state has a best interest statute, and every state has factors in that best interest statute. So, in Florida, there's 18 factors. I mean, there's a lot. I think in California there might be 10, but it's every single state has something like, which parent is going to be more likely to foster a relationship between the other parent and the child. Which parent, is there a domestic violence issue? Is there, they look at all of the different factors for that child, what's going to be best for that child. And so what you want to do is put together your evidence and your documentation in a way that supports each factor. So if the person doesn't take their parenting time on a regular basis or changes it a lot, which is something you see a lot with narcissists, frankly,
Yes.
and the best thing you can do, I know a lot of people don't want to do this, but one of the best things you can do is enter into a temporary parenting plan early on, like right when the divorce starts, that gives them parenting time, because they will hang themselves. They won't take it. They will end up switching it all the time. They're going to be late constantly. They're going to be wanting to switch weekends or showing up on, different days or whatever. And you're going to be documenting all of that. And so you're going to be able to go at the end, whether it's trial or mediation, and have all this documentation that says, the other person changed their parenting time. Out of 20 different times that they were supposed to have the kid, they changed it 15. And you're going to say, and this happened while the case was pending. What are they going to do when people aren't looking at them? So obviously their work schedule isn't conducive to this parenting schedule or whatever.
So let's say that a narcissist is doing that constantly, like either forfeiting their parenting time or wanting to change at the last minute and things like that. What should the parent who is trying to get primary custody do? Should they agree to that? Because will that come back to hurt them later? I mean, I can just see an opposing attorney saying, well, you did this. I don't see why it was a problem if you agreed to it. So is there a balance there? How should someone handle that?
Well, if there is a temporary agreement in place, the first thing you want to make sure that there's language in there that says this is a temporary agreement and it's without prejudice, and it should not be used as a basis for the permanent parenting plan, and it should not be evidence of what's in the best interest of the child, and just put all that kind of language in there so that the court cannot go, well, you've been doing this, let's just keep doing this. So that's the first thing you want to make sure is in there. And usually narcissists don't mind people doing that, because they think that the thing about narcissists is they always think that they're the better parent, and they're like in this fantasy land. A lot of times they're the ones pushing for a parenting evaluation or a custody evaluation, and they're the crappier parent. They think that they're going to use it to against the other one. I have a case like that right now, actually, where I'm representing the husband. The wife is definitely crazy, and she's pushing for a custody evaluation, and my client's like, it's gonna go back on her. She's gonna be the one ending up crazy. And he was opposing it just because he didn't want to put the kids through that. But on the other hand, he's like, this is not going to bode well for her. But this is what narcissists do a lot of the time,
They
So,
do. And I always encourage people not to get too upset when that happens. I mean, yes, you're going to be emotional, you're going to be in that sort of panic mode. But unless the other person has proof that you're an unfit parent, what do you really have to be afraid of? What can they possibly show in court that's going to prove that you're an unfit parent? So that's another
yeah.
reason to be careful in your communications. and not be going out to clubs and doing things like that, that could look, bad on you. What's your
Yeah, I mean, like I have another case right now where the husband is a total narcissist. I'm representing the wife. And, he's always doing and saying things to inflame her. I mean, luckily, they have a baby. And luckily, we entered into a parenting plan prior to the baby, just prior to the baby being born. Like lovely guy that he is. He filed for divorce when she was 8 months pregnant. So we ended up doing a parenting plan like 10 days before she delivered the baby. And so she doesn't, um, he agreed to no overnights right now. And so, but he also agreed to do all the parenting time at her house. So he comes over every
oh
single
my
time. And I mean, it's great in one way because she can, oversee what's going on. But every time he shows up, he's got a tripod, a video camera, saying that he's watching her because she's going to try to frame him and all this
Is that
stupid.
legal?
Well, he can't play it. He can't do anything with it. But she can't stop him from, he says he just wants video of the baby. And so what's she gonna say? No, you can't have video of the baby. I mean, he's just, he's even like when he's changing the baby's diaper, video cameras on. I mean, it's so stupid. But she's been great about like, okay, if that's what you want to do, I mean, it bugs the crap out of her, of course, but that's what he wants. That's what he
Right.
wants, and he'll just do all kinds of stuff to try to inflame her. They have to communicate through an app and a co-parenting app. That's something else that we got into the original temporary agreement. And, he'll even say things like, send a message through the app. Oh, thanks for agreeing to switch our weekends and letting me have the baby next weekend for my sister's wedding or something. Well, of course, that conversation never took place. And he says that in the app like it's a confirmation. And so then she's like freaking out, like, I never had this conversation. Now I'm going to look bad. Now I'm looking like this gaslighting. And I said, you're just going to write back in the app, as you know, all conversations are supposed to take place in the app. And I never agreed to that. You never asked me that.
Right.
So please stop trying to make it look like I'm, going back on my word. We did not have that conversation. I mean, you just have to correct those things. But I always say to people, just the facts, ma'am, like that old show.
Yeah.
You just respond directly to the fact, no emotion, no
Right.
additional oversharing, no defending, no justifying your behavior. You don't need to go into all of that. Thanks for watching this part 1 of my incredible conversation with Kim Saeed. Make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you will be notified when I upload part 2 of this video. And you're going to want to check out some of my other videos on narcissism, like the things to stop doing with narcissists, as well as how to make a narcissist panic. And if you want some special help with negotiating with the narcissist, go ahead and download my Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet. I will drop a link to that below. And if you are looking for more support or you want to connect with others who are also dealing with narcissists, check out my free private Facebook group called Narcissist Negotiators, and I will drop a link to that below too. If you liked this video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me a comment, let me know that you were here. And remember that today is a great day to start negotiating your best life. I'll see you in the next video.